August 18, 1995. Annabelle's Nightclub, London, 3:47 a.m. The strobing lights illuminated Princess Diana as she stood atop a mahogany table in Britain's most exclusive nightclub, her stiletto heels clicking against the polished wood, while champagne dripped from her hair and her emerald cocktail dress clung to her sweat-soaked body. At 34, the People's Princess had transformed into something the royal family never imagined, a wild, uninhibited party animal who danced until dawn and lived by her own rules. The crowd below cheered as Diana threw her head back in ecstatic laughter, completely lost in the music and the freedom of being anonymous in the darkness. But what had driven the world's most famous woman to seek refuge in London's underground party scene wasn't rebellion, it was survival, and tonight she was dancing for her life. But the most shocking part wasn't Diana's wild dancing. It was discovering who was watching her from the VIP booth, planning to use these scandalous nights against her. The Escape, July 1995. Diana's liberation. Diana's descent into London's nightclub scene began during the darkest period of her royal life, when the walls of Windsor seemed to be closing in around her, and she desperately needed an escape from the suffocating world of royal protocol. Following her explosive BBC Panorama interview preparation, Diana knew that her days as a working royal were numbered. The palace was systematically isolating her. Charles was becoming increasingly hostile, and the press was turning against her with stories planted by palace insiders. "I feel like I'm dying inside these palace walls," Diana confided to her friend Rosa Monckton. "I need to remember what it feels like to be alive, to be free, to be myself." That's when Diana discovered London's underground nightclub scene, a world where royalty meant nothing, where anonymity was possible, and where she could lose herself in music, dancing, and the pure physical sensation of being young and alive. Her first venture into this hidden world came through an unlikely source, her personal trainer James Hewitt, who knew the owners of several exclusive clubs that catered to celebrities seeking privacy. "There are places in London where you can disappear," Hewitt told her. "Places where no one asks questions, no one takes photos, and everyone understands the need for discretion." Diana's response surprised even herself. "Take me there. I want to disappear." Don't miss this shocking revelation. Diana's first wild night. The transformation. Diana's first night at Tramp nightclub in July 1995 marked the beginning of her complete transformation from royal princess to party animal. Disguised in a black wig, heavy makeup, and clothes borrowed from her friend's wardrobe, Diana entered the dimly lit club, feeling more nervous than she had during any royal engagement. But the moment the music hit her, something fundamental changed. "I haven't danced like this since I was a teenager," Diana shouted to Hewitt over the pounding bass. "I forgot how good it feels to move without thinking about protocol." That first night, Diana danced for 4 straight hours, her royal training forgotten as she lost herself in the rhythm and the freedom of anonymous movement. When she finally left the club at 5 a.m., her feet were bleeding from her shoes, her makeup was ruined, and she was happier than she had been in years. The addiction begins. What started as an occasional escape quickly became an obsession. Diana began sneaking out of Kensington Palace 3 nights a week, using elaborate disguises and cover stories to maintain her secret nightlife. She would tell her staff she was having early nights due to fatigue, then slip out through the service entrance wearing wigs, colored contact lenses, and outfits that made her unrecognizable even to people who knew her intimately. The physical liberation. For Diana, dancing became a form of therapy that no royal physician could provide. After years of feeling trapped in a loveless marriage and suffocated by royal protocol, the physical freedom of dancing allowed her to reconnect with her body and her emotions. "When I'm dancing, I'm not the Princess of Wales," she told her friend Sarah Ferguson during one of their secret conversations. "I'm not Charles's wife. I'm not William and Harry's mother. I'm not a symbol of anything. I'm just a woman moving to music." You won't believe how wild Diana's nights became. The escalation. When Diana went too far. When Diana went too far. As Diana became more comfortable in the nightclub world, her behavior became increasingly reckless and uninhibited, shocking even the club veterans who thought they had seen everything. Dancing on tables. Diana's signature move became climbing onto tables and dancing with complete abandon. her royal training abandoned as she gyrated to the music in ways that would have scandalized the palace. At Annabelle's, London's most exclusive nightclub, Diana's table dancing became legendary among the club's discreet clientele. She would kick off her shoes, pull her hair loose, and dance with such wild energy that other patrons would stop their own activities to watch the spectacle. She danced like someone who had been imprisoned for years and was finally free, observed nightclub owner Mark Burley. There was something desperate and beautiful about it. The champagne showers. Diana's party behavior escalated to include champagne fights with other clubgoers, where she would spray expensive bottles over herself and anyone nearby, laughing hysterically as the alcohol soaked through her designer clothes. During one notorious evening at Stringfellow's, Diana initiated a champagne battle that resulted in £3,000 worth of crystal being wasted and Diana's white dress becoming completely transparent, requiring club security to provide her with a robe. The dawn departures. Diana's club nights regularly extended until 6 or 7 a.m., with her stumbling out of venues as the sun rose over London, often supported by friends or club staff who were concerned about her ability to get home safely. Her driver would sometimes wait outside clubs for 8 hours, watching nervously as other patrons left while Diana continued partying inside with no regard for time or consequences. Don't miss this explosive revelation: who was secretly watching Diana? The surveillance. What Diana didn't know was that her wild nightclub escapades were being carefully documented by palace officials who saw her behavior as ammunition in their war to discredit her. The secret photographers. Palace insiders had arranged for discreet photographers to be present at several of Diana's favorite clubs, capturing images of her most outrageous behavior that could be used to undermine her credibility if she became too problematic for the royal family. These photos showed Diana in various stages of intoxication and undress, dancing on tables with her dress hiked up, engaging in intimate conversations with strange men, and generally behaving in ways that contradicted her public image as the dignified Princess of Wales. The palace strategy. Sir Robert Fellows, the Queen's private secretary, had developed a comprehensive file documenting Diana's nightclub activities, with detailed reports of her behavior, the people she associated with, and the potential scandals that could emerge from each evening. If Diana continues to challenge the family publicly, Fellows told the Queen, "We have extensive documentation of behavior that would destroy her credibility with the public." The insider information. Most devastatingly, the palace had recruited informants within Diana's own social circle, people she trusted, who were secretly reporting her activities back to Buckingham Palace. These informants provided details about Diana's emotional state during her club nights, her conversations about the royal family, and her increasing dependence on the nightclub scene as an escape from her royal responsibilities. You're not ready for the night that changed everything. The point of no return. August 18, 1995, the night Diana lost control. Diana's wildest night occurred at Annabelle's nightclub, when her behavior became so extreme that even her closest friends became concerned about her mental state and physical safety. That evening, Diana arrived at the club already intoxicated from pre-drinking at a friend's apartment. She was wearing a revealing emerald dress that she had specifically chosen to shock, and her behavior from the moment she entered was more reckless than anyone had seen before. The table dancing spectacle. Around 2 a.m., Diana climbed onto the main table in the club's VIP area and began what witnesses described as the most sexually charged dance performance anyone had ever seen from a member of the royal family. She stripped off her jewelry piece by piece, throwing her emerald earrings and diamond bracelet into the crowd below, while dancing with such wild abandon that other patrons began filming with their phones despite the club's strict no photography policy. She was dancing like someone who didn't care if she lived or died, observed one witness. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The champagne incident. During her table performance, Diana grabbed multiple bottles of champagne and began pouring them over her body, soaking her dress until it became completely see-through, revealing that she wasn't wearing any undergarments. The crowd below was transfixed as Diana writhed under the champagne shower, her royal composure completely abandoned, as she seemed to experience some kind of spiritual or sexual awakening through the music and alcohol. The collapse. Diana's wild performance lasted for over an hour before she finally collapsed from exhaustion and intoxication, falling from the table into the arms of concerned onlookers who carried her to a private room where she could recover. When she regained consciousness 20 minutes later, Diana had no memory of her performance and was horrified when friends described what she had done. Don't miss this devastating aftermath, how the photos were used against her. The photographs and videos from Diana's most extreme nightclub performance became powerful weapons in the palace's campaign to control her behavior and limit her public influence. The blackmail. Within 48 hours of her Annabelle's performance, Diana received a private meeting request from Sir Robert Fellows, who presented her with a comprehensive portfolio of images and videos from her nightclub activities. "Your Royal Highness," Fellows said with cold satisfaction, "these images tell a very different story from the one you've been presenting to the public." The photos were devastating. Diana dancing on tables with her dress hiked up, engaging in intimate conversations with unknown men, appearing obviously intoxicated, and in several images, appearing partially nude due to her champagne-soaked clothing. If any of these images were to become public, Fellows continued, they would completely destroy your credibility as a mother and as a representative of British values. Diana's response. Rather than being cowed by the blackmail, Diana's response revealed the steel beneath her party girl exterior. "Are you threatening me?" she asked with dangerous calm. "I'm offering you guidance on how to avoid a very damaging scandal." "No," Diana replied, "you're trying to control me using my own need for freedom against me. But here's what you don't understand. I don't care anymore." The standoff. Diana's refusal to be intimidated by the photographs created a standoff that would ultimately lead to her complete separation from the royal family. Rather than moderating her behavior, Diana seemed to embrace her wild reputation, continuing her nightclub adventures with even greater intensity, as if daring the palace to release the compromising images. The liberation. Diana's nightclub period, while shocking to royal observers, represented her final break with the constraints that had defined her entire adult life. The emotional freedom. Through dancing and partying, Diana reconnected with the young woman she had been before marriage, and royal duty consumed her identity. The wild behavior that scandalized the palace was actually Diana reclaiming her own body and her own choices. The strategic rebellion. Diana's nightclub escapades also served a strategic purpose. They demonstrated that she was no longer afraid of palace disapproval and was prepared to live life on her own terms, regardless of the consequences. Her willingness to risk scandal and embarrassment showed that she had found something more valuable than royal approval, authentic self-expression, and genuine freedom. The ultimate victory. When the palace finally realized that their blackmail material was powerless against someone who no longer cared about their approval, they were forced to negotiate with Diana as an equal rather than trying to control her as a subject. Her wild nights had accomplished what years of traditional rebellion could never achieve. She had made herself uncontrollable and therefore free. The truth revealed. Diana's transformation from demure royal bride to wild nightclub dancer represented the most successful rebellion in modern royal history. By embracing behavior that the palace considered scandalous, Diana discovered that their power over her was based entirely on her fear of their disapproval. Once she stopped caring what they thought, they lost all leverage over her choices. The woman who danced on tables until dawn wasn't destroying her life. She was saving it, one wild night at a time. Her nightclub adventures proved that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply refusing to be ashamed of your own desires for freedom and joy. Some princesses find their power through politics. Diana found hers on the dance floor, proving that liberation sometimes looks like losing control, and that the most dignified thing a royal can do is remember how to be human.